All right, the recording is in progress. Welcome to Trauma Training Tuesday, everybody. So glad to see friends' faces. Bill, nice to see you.
Amy?
If you are not presenting, you could please mute yourself. That would be great. I have our sort of agenda up and ready to go. We have a lot of things we're doing today. And if you have anything to share, if you want to put it in the chat, that would be great. And we can come around and see how we're doing for time. We have a lot of things planned for content, but we also want to keep some space open for our participants to bring things to share. And I had a little bit of a slide deck here, but I just wanted to start with this one thing. Is that sharing? It's not, is it? Okay. I don't want to share my screen. I'm not going to do that right now. I just want to say that one of the things that comes up for people for the holidays, we know that the holidays remind us of who we've lost, who we're not with. A lot of times it can be really, really hard when everyone around you is talking about joy and happiness and togetherness. It really becomes obvious when the losses we've all suffered in the last years. But when we're doing trauma work, we have to remember that life is hard. A lot of times, a lot of things are really hard, but to make life worthwhile, we have to find things that make us happy and joyful. And I know for myself, what you can feel like you're doing a disservice to the loss, to the hard things by being happy, right? You can feel like, how can I be happy when all this, there's death and destruction, and it can feel like being happy is wrong. But we're here to tell you, we need you to be happy. We want you to find happiness amidst the chaos, the pain, the loss. No matter what's going on, we hope that we can find something, some way to have joy this season. So that's our goal for today, is to just really bring the joy and recognize that it's not always easy, and it can feel like a betrayal of the losses to be a little too joyful. I am excited to have with me Deb Falzoy. Deb is a social work student, and she is getting her social work hours with us here at Worcester Addresses Childhood Trauma this year. She's already an incredible trauma specialist. Her specialty is on workplace abuse. She did a Trauma Training Tuesday for us last year in October, and it was incredible. If you haven't seen it, once you hear from Deb, you're gonna want to go back and check that one out. But I am going to, I'm gonna pin. Did everybody see Deb now? Like, yeah, or is it just for me? My Zoom hosting skills are not where they once were, what they should be, but Deb is going to share a poem with us to get us in the right frame of mind for today.
Thanks, Amy. So this is called My Brain and Heart Divorced by John Rodell. Sorry about the background noise. My brain and heart divorced a decade ago over who was to blame about how big of a mess I have become. Eventually, they couldn't be in the same room with each other. Now my head and heart share custody of me, stay with my brain during the week, and my heart gets me on weekends. They never speak to one another. Instead, they give me the same note to pass to each other every week, and their notes they send to one another always says the same thing. This is all your fault. On Sundays, my heart complains about how my head has let me down in the past. And on Wednesday, my head lists all of the times my heart has screwed things up for me in the future. They blame each other for the state of my life. There's been a lot of yelling and crying, So lately, I've been spending a lot of time with my gut, who serves as my unofficial therapist. Most nights, sneak out of the window in my rib cage and slide down my spine and collapse on my gut's plush leather chair that's always open for me. And just sit, 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 sit until the sun comes up. Last evening, my gut asked me if was having a hard time being caught between my heart and my head. Nodded, said didn't know if could live with either of them anymore. My heart is always sad about something that happened yesterday, while my head is always worried about something that may happen tomorrow. Lamented. My gut squeezed my hand, just can't live with my mistakes of the past or my anxiety about the future. Sighed. My gut smiled and said, in that case, you should go stay with your lungs for a while. Was confused. The look on my face gave it away. If you are exhausted about your heart's obsession with the fixed past and your mind's focus on the uncertain future, your lungs are the perfect place for you. There is no yesterday in your lungs. There is no tomorrow there either. There is only now. There is only inhale. There is only exhale. There is only this moment. There is only breath. And in that breath, you can rest while your heart and head work their relationship out. This morning, while my brain was busy reading tea leaves, and while my heart was staring at old photographs, packed a little bag and walked to the door of my lungs. Before could even knock, she opened the door with a smile, and as a gust of air embraced me, she said, "What took you so long?"
Thank you, Deb. That was beautiful. I love that poem, right? It really talks about the embodiment of stress and trauma and what Wendy O'Leary would say if she were here. Return to the breath. The breath is where calm can be found. Thank you, Deb. That's beautiful. It's also the poem is shared in the chat. If you would like to. One of the things we're doing today is we are going to learn to Zentangle. And so we're not starting with that right away because we would like you to make sure you get a couple things that you're going to need to Zentangle. Basically, what you're going to need is a pen and paper and a pencil. Any kind of paper will do, but the nicer the better. A marker would be the best choice for pen. We actually, if you have a micron pigment pen or a Sharpie or anything like that, that's going to be great. But part of the idea of Zentangle is whatever you have, whatever you got is fine. No barriers to Zentangle. And Tammy is going to take us through Zentangle a little bit later. So again, whatever you need to do to take care of yourself for our time together, screen on, screen off. If you got to get up and go get some things because you're getting ready to tangle, please do take good care of yourself. And now I am going to start us off, turn it over to my friend Laura Cullen. Laura is identifies right there with the rest of us as someone who has survived trauma, continuing to learn strategies to survive trauma. And she has become pretty expert at emotional freedom technique, EFT, also called tapping. One of the things that's great about tapping is you don't need supplies or materials or anything specific to do it. You just, and Laura will tell you about that. And I think that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to turn it over to Laura. And Laura, whenever you tell me, oh, I can spotlight you. Look at that. That worked. I can get music going because I know we're going to have some nice background music, but I'll let you talk first.
Thank you so much, Amy. And I just want to say I'm so grateful to be here. I'm going to start tapping. And so I'm going to show you what the points are, and then I'm going to get into some things. Right now, I'm going to try to find my breath because I actually have anxiety. And so tapping is something that helps turn that stress response off. So tapping is a little weird. It's funny looking, and it works if you use it. And so that some of the tapping points are at the side of the hand, which is called the karate chop point. You can use either hand. You actually can use one hand. I've worked with people who only had one hand, whether they've had a stroke or an amputee. And sometimes I have them tap on their hip bone, whatever is comfortable. Another tapping point is at the top of the head. So it's just gently tapping. There's a point here and here, the eyebrow point, side of the eye, under the nose. It's a chin point, the collarbone point. Some people suggest tapping here. I've seen practitioners do the whole collarbone. My suggestion is just to relax and not worry about doing it perfectly, and just breathe and just try it. And then under the arm, it's like where your bra would be for a woman. You just tap there. And there's certain techniques, there's certain set of statements and ways to do it. But I also have learned and found with my work, if you just tap, without worrying, like there's a formula for it, and like with art there's a formula, and then there's ways to like bend with it and transform it and craft it and be creative with it. So that's one of my talents, is I have a creativity with it, and I bring a lot of my trauma past and healing and all the other modalities of my training to my work. I'm very transparent. I become very emotionally naked with my work. And I have videos out there that some of them I've accidentally posted and have helped a lot of people with it, and was like mortified to find out that I accidentally posted a really vulnerable video, until I got the feedback of how much it helped someone. So I'm going to invite you to take responsibility for your well-being, and to just take a deep breath. And if you're desiring to join tapping along with me, just tapping on the karate chop point. And so I'm just going to share a little bit about me. I came across this technique. I had gone to a chiropractor for someone suggested I go to this particular chiropractor for some depression that I was dealing with. I had been diagnosed bipolar. I was really struggling, had suicide attempts, lots of traumas occurred to me. And so I found this chiropractor, and he introduced this to me. And then later, when I was working as an occupational therapy assistant, I had gone in my free time, like I had made my health and healing part of my hobby. I had gone to a seminar where there was a video called The Tapping Solution by Nick Ortner. I bought the video, I started doing the tapping. It was more detailed than what I had learned from the chiropractor. And then I was utilizing this technique with my clients in the rehab, the senior rehab that I worked at. And then I got nervous, like, can I do this? If I'm not trained, so I went and I got trained, and my skill set took off. My life changed. I was able to get off medication. I was able to maintain abstinence from gluten, because I found out through the years that I'm allergic to gluten. And I truly was able to truly go after my dreams. At that time, I was going to a therapist who did EMDR with me for the sexual abuse trauma that occurred to me. I was traumatized in a psych hospital by a worker after already being traumatized. So there's a lot of nonsense in my story of trauma, but this is my path, and this is what I do. I share transparently and authentically, and I pray to God that whatever I share in this time frame that I have here with you, that I can share some tools to help you find the present moment, find inner peace, self-love, and a tool that you can use anywhere. And truly, I think my ultimate goal, like I have like little prayers, like I ask God to show me what to do so I can serve humanity better. I'm constantly praying to God to like, please help me get to this present moment, help me to use what I know. I use lots of different things. But tapping I was able to stop going to that therapist, and I don't even know what I've said so far, but I was able to stop going to my EMDR therapist. I went after my own goals and dreams. I got off medication. I had a miscarriage, and then I had my son at 43. I had a home birth, and been able to share I used to be secretive about my trauma story. And I was able to tell my story, write an article, because I thought if I shared how I healed from my trauma with the tapping, I would help more people heal. And then what ended up happening when that article came out in the magazine, more freedom came to me because I no longer had to look over my shoulder who was going to find out about my trauma story, suicide attempts and all of that. And so my life just took off. You know, I have this home birth, I have this child. I then go into extensive training for my EFT practitioner services. And I just go after my dreams forever. I had a dream of being a homeschool mom, stay-at-home mom, work from home, and travel the national park system. And you know, I got my son at 43, and I'm doing everything I can to show up for my life and be free. Real quickly, I'll share, which is a big deal for me to share this here. There's a video out there. I think Amy might be putting a link if anyone cares to share me authentically doing my own work. 3 months ago, well, 2 years ago, I found out that I am the family secret. My mom had an affair. The father that raised me is not my biological father. And I have 5 other siblings. One of them had died as a baby. And that was like a train wreck experience for me. And, you know, I've been able to handle this one day at a time with the help of getting myself to the proper therapist to help me, tapping, and doing all I've ever done, you know, is just brushing myself off and getting back up and putting my left foot in front of my right. At the 2-year anniversary of this discovery, I was on the phone with actually my dear friend Amy, struggling. And I had said to her, gosh, I wish I could hire myself. And she was like, Laura, why don't you? And with a little bit of resistance, I said to her, you know what, Amy, I'm going to go in my car, I'm going to videotape myself. I'll share it, not share it, I don't know. And I told her I'd probably save $1,000 in therapy costs if I did it. And sure enough, I hope you're tapping with me. If you can, just do it, just embrace it. And I'm just tapping on the karate chop point, by the way. And so you can tap through all the other points, but if you're comfortable in one spot, just stick in that one spot. So anyway, I go in the car and I make this video, and I shared it with Amy. I shared it with my EFT practitioners. They were like, Laura, share this. Like, this is it, share it, you know, and with a major fear of hurting my parents or anyone else in my family for breaking the family secret, I made it public, but didn't tell anyone that it's there, except for a couple people in my support group. And then what I did was then every day, I'm just getting a little emotional because I have so much gratitude, and I have been able to live my life and experience such joy with my life with my son, despite the nonsense of the trauma and stuff that comes my way, and the grief and the overwhelm. But I rewatched this video multiple times. I watched it this morning just to get myself prepared for you guys today, to be as authentically and transparent in how this EFT tapping technique tool has helped me turn the stress response off and get back in my prefrontal cortex. So there's lots of information out there about tapping and what the points mean, and there's lots of studies going on about it. It turns the cortisol levels down. It helps turn the stress response off. And so when we're stressed, we're in that fight, flight, or freeze, right? And so me personally, I've gone through my entire life, even while in utero with my mother, stressed. There was a fire in our home when she was 6 months pregnant with me. I've recently uncovered some of my financial fears and stressors may have come from what my mother was going through while my father, who raised me, not my biological father, got burned and was in a burn unit, who was the sole provider. This is just within the last week and a half, I've had this epiphany of like, maybe this is part of my root stuff that I need to clear and heal and separate myself from my mother and her fears and her stuff and all the, try not to curse, like I'm known as the FU tapper. And so I usually am throwing a lot of F-bombs. And I encourage you, when you are doing the tapping work, curse a lot. And when we curse, we do access a different part of our brain. And so for me, I find when I'm in this duress of emotional stuff or current traumas, like I have another little trauma, not little, another trauma happened to me a week ago. My husband got fired. Like, really? Like, I'm doing all this work and I'm doing all this healing stuff. I actually, even in the beginning of October, put myself in a codependent treatment program for a week, and they allowed me to tap and do it. And I did so much healing. And I'm like, starting to like really, really soar again and getting myself really back on track. And then my husband loses his job. So, you know, this is life on life's terms. This is the holidays. We have our family and our friends, but some of us are invited to go to these homes with our family and friends. And many of us don't want to go or don't know how to deal with the small talk or the drinking or the this or the button pushing that goes on. And I just, for me, I will be tapping. I'm going to show you real quickly. There's some tapping points on the fingers that they don't usually use so much when you're in a session with someone, because they find when you're actually tapping, you're stimulating these points. But here's a secret way of tapping. You can just hold your fingers and breathe. So you're just holding the finger beds and breathing. You can also just sit there holding your entire finger. You might find you do stuff like this naturally. You might even realize you're tapping and utilizing these points when you're thinking like, oh my God, you see it at a football game, like, oh, and they're hitting the points, or like, so we have naturally been doing this. It's just now in the last, I don't know how many years now, because like I can't do the math. Like I learned this in the early 90s. And so interesting. There's a man chasing his dog on my yard right now. So I don't know if you can hear that, but that's going on out there. And so even like something like that, someone disturbing me right now, I'll pull that into a session with someone and be like, well, that's just what happened, and we just move on, right? Just like my husband losing his job. Well, that's just what happened. And maybe I'm going to pray more, tap more, journal more, do more art, or whatever it may be. So, so with that said, Amy had mentioned something about she's going to start and hit play on something. One of the things with this newfound brother, who I love dearly, he looks just like me. I look just like my father. And this MPE experience has been a challenge. It's been really challenging. But he used to send, and sometimes still does, sends me love songs. And she encouraged me to play these love songs and play them to myself, to love myself. So I invite you, while we listen to this song, to tap through the points. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see me or the song. I'm not sure, it doesn't matter. And don't worry if you're not tapping on the right points. And just breathe.
One look at you, my whole life falls in line. I prayed for you before I called you mine. Oh, I can't believe it's true sometimes. Oh, I can't believe it's true. I get to love you. It's the best thing that I'll ever do. I get to love you. It's a promise I'm making to you. Whatever may come, your heart I will choose. Forever I'm yours, forever I do. I get to love you. I get to love you. The way you love, it changes who I am. I am undone. Nothing get to love you. I get to love you. I get to love you. I get to love you. And they say love is a journey. I promise that I'll never leave. But when it's too heavy to carry, remember this moment with me. I get to love you. I get to love you. I get to love you.
So learning to love ourselves, right? And to surrendering to what life throws us, what's out of our control, what we're powerless over. And so like the journey of learning to love myself and accepting all of me, you know, all the ways I show up in the world, all the ways that life might be hard for me. Like I have social anxiety, you know, so coming with the holidays, I don't know how to do small talk, you know, it's just not where I go, you know, and so you know, I just invite you all to just try EFT tapping. There's a lot of videos out there. And, you know, I'm going to also just share that, you know, we just tapped along with that song, like I Get to Love You, you know, and it's like when years and years ago, when I would look in the mirror, I'd be like, I hate you. Like you just, you know, I come up so short, you know, in my internal talk to myself. And the first time I did some mirror work from Louise Hay's work, you know, I was like, you look in the mirror and you say, I love you. And what I heard back was, F you, no, you don't. You don't even play with me. You don't even take me out to play, you know? So it's taken a lot of time for me to get to the place of like really loving myself and really hearing and listening to that little part of me, that inner child inside me that wants to play and relax and have fun and not do all this healing work and not be whatever and like do art, you know. So be gentle, you know, it's a journey, you know, it's not a destination, it's like it's the path, you know. And if you do watch the video of me transparently doing my healing work 3 months ago, in there I keep like I'm crying, like I'm literally sobbing and crying in this video, and it's not rehearsed. Like I went in, I'm off the phone to the car, made the video, and one of the things I kept saying was, I don't want to miss the present, like I don't want to miss it. And prior to learning EFT tapping and embracing this tool, I missed so much of my life because I was in the stress rather than present. And so like having access to that prefrontal cortex gives me the ability to really integrate and experience. I'm sure I still miss stuff because I have noise in my head of what have you, but from my experience, when I look back, I realize when I experience my life, like a year is like 10 years, right? A day is like a week or a month because I'm present and I'm there and I have like authenticity about me and authentic experiences. And you know, this maybe it also comes with being a little bit older. Like I'm 53 years old and some part of me doesn't really care, you know, but there is a part of me that does care, you know. And so as I learn to be in love with myself and allow people and whomever it might be to get to know me by being safe, feeling safe enough to be free to be me, that's the gift I get to give the world, right? Like God, I don't know what God, you know, I don't know God's will for me 100%. Like sometimes like this feels like God's will for me. Like I was talking with a friend the day Amy reached out to me that morning, I was talking with a friend thinking about how could I do more to help people with EFT? You know, like I should make videos and do something, you know, but I don't want to market and do all that stuff. Like that's like, I don't like that. You know, I just like helping people. I literally came home and Amy was like, hey, would you want to do this half-hour EFT thing for Trauma Training Tuesday? I was like, sure, yes, even though I'm terrified, you know? And so like, this is me. This is what I've got to offer. I don't know if I've gone enough time-wise, if there's any questions or how you want to go with this, Amy, but I love you all. I love myself today. And I'm trying to live to be 120 now, when in my earlier years, I was just didn't want to live. Like every day I was pissed at God because I woke up the next day. And so now I'm just doing everything I can to live my best day. You know, even if that means I just ate apple pie instead of feeling my feelings, or that I did a Facebook reel because I don't want to feel my feelings. Like it's about being gentle and just allowing myself to do the best I can each day, and just surrender it all. And you know, just keep focusing, like that poem talked about, focusing on that breath, you know, and you know,
When
and
you're tapping, Laura, do emotions come up for you? Do you feel like they're moving through? Like what do you feel like goes
yeah.
on?
So sometimes, you know, sometimes you feel nothing. And you're like, well, that was a waste of time, you know, but believe it or not, it's actually working. And sometimes you can connect to and trigger like a lot of sobbing and or insights. Like sometimes the brain feels really cloudy, like you're buzzing in your head, and you're like, well, what is, like, you might be buzzing in your head right now, or you might not feel anything. I'm not sure who's tapping along, but so anything can happen, right? And none of it's wrong. It's kind of like electricity, like you don't understand it, but you plug it in, and if you're connected, it works. So that's just like tapping, like even if you don't feel anything, it's working. And I don't know if I said this, but I encourage you all to listen to music from your teenage years, because that's a brutal time of our lives, right? Being a teenager, all those hormones, all that stuff. And the songs, all of that is in your nervous system. So much is running through your nervous system without, you know, you even realizing it. So just tap while you're on the phone with your friends, tap to music. You can take out your checkbook and just look at it and tap and look at your checkbook, you know, or whatever, you know, whatever it may. Open your closets and just stand there and tap. You know, you can use tapping in so many ways, and it helps with so many different things. And the science behind it, like you can find the research on which point means what. My personality is like, I don't really care about that science stuff and what this point means or that point means. I just want to jump in and do it and feel the relief. So, yeah.
It's such a really powerful technique. And I know, you know, I am not trained in it like you are, but from just studying it, what I loved about it was little kids could do it too, right? Like it's accessible to everybody at any time. You don't need materials. I know they had the kids like pairing it with affirmations about themselves. Like, even though I spilled things all over the kitchen, I'm still a good kid and I still deserve love.
Right. And what's really, really, like, to me, very divine, Nick Ortner, who has done a tremendous amount of service for the tapping work. He didn't create this technique, but he has the Tapping World Summit. He was helping Lori Lydon, who was in Rwanda, who was teaching tapping to the children there. And Nick Ortner happens to live in Newtown, Connecticut. I get choked up. He lives in Newtown, Connecticut, where that tragedy happened. And Lori Lydon came and triaged and set up tapping in Newtown. And one of the boys lost their sibling and hadn't returned to school. And so they had, I think they used Skype back then. They had a child who learned tapping in Rwanda Skype and tap with this boy, and he was able to go to school the next day. And I believe there's a whole movie about that, you know. So like, this isn't just a little technique. Like, this is, now they triage, the EFT community goes and they triage with all the school shootings. And you know, and my personal practitioner, she's from the Newtown, Connecticut community, who I found when I was going for my EFT training in Boston with Margaret Lynch, you know. So like, God keeps putting things in place to help us to heal, like the world heal, you know. And it's like, I believe it's Lori Lydon says, if you want to help heal the world, do your own work, you know. And so, yeah, I mean, my story is not worse than some. Like, you know, if we compare our stories to other people, then we're like, you know, can really get off track. But my story is my story, and I've taken full responsibility for my own healing. And if my trauma and my experience can help one person live a better life, you know, then maybe that's what it's all about, you know, us helping each other, because it's in the we, you know, we help each other. And yeah. that's how I roll, you know. This is me. And I don't rehearse anything. I don't, you know, it's You know,
Authentic.
I feel
That's
like it's
your
that we,
jam.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
and
too
you
the whole,
mentioned, yeah, you were asking about the kids. So there's a lot of videos for the kids, a lot. And there's kids, there are teachers and people doing this in the schools. And I tap with my son, and quite often he'll say, "Mama, you should tap." You know, so the kids are watching and listening and learning. And if we all take responsibility for our well-being, you know, we are going to make a difference.
love it. I loved to you introduce me to that song, I Get to Love You. And I'm like, this is a beautiful song. And then I was like, Laura, it's about you, for you. And it just was a really, that so beautiful. And we just, those of us who know you really appreciate you're always willing to show up however you are, authentically, full of love. And right, all the trauma also means like all the love. We're capable of the full range of emotions. And I just really appreciate your willingness to share and support. There's a handout that Laura has that I just linked in the chat that sort of talks about it. I linked her website to the Facebook page and to our Worcester Addresses Childhood Trauma website. If you wanna, you can hire Laura, you can work with Laura, and that would be wonderful. So feel free to get in touch. Does anybody have any questions or comments before we move along to some more techniques? Oh, go ahead, Kels.
I wanted to just thank you, and I see the chat is full of other people thanking you, Laura. But I was surprised, and I'm glad Amy kind of brought it up as a question, that I found I was crying, right? I was tapping along with you, and then I got emotional, and I was like, what's happening here? And so just knowing that that was part of the process when, you know, when you said, whatever can happen, anything can happen, you don't know. That felt really normalizing. So just thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And one
Bill
thing,
has his hand raised too.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Bill. Bill.
Yeah, everything I just heard, Laura, was really amazing. And I wrote in the chat, thank you very much for reintroducing it to me, because I haven't done this in a long time or tried it. And you kind of put a different spin on it. So I'm looking forward to continuing to do this every day. The one thing I learned a lot, everything you said was really great, but the one thing I honed in on, and I thank you very much for this and give you a big hug, is you talked about that anxiety about small talk, because I have that. And people think I'm being standoffish and whatever, rude, but it's real for me, and I've never heard anybody else talk about it. So thank you very much for that.
thank you.
It's a great piece going into the holidays too, right? You're often in situations where you gotta you gotta make the small talk, you gotta do the things, and that's part of the anxiety, I think, for all of us. Anybody else want to comments or questions? Or it seems like it went really well, Laura. People seem to really get something from it. Nice job.
Thank you.
All right, I am back to my PowerPoint here for a second, because I'm going to talk a little bit next about Zentangle. And feel free to keep on tapping, everybody. Zentangle is another tool that that I learned and that I shared, and that people and someone here today who I've shared with has taken it so far beyond what I ever did with it. Like incredible. So it's super exciting to be able to see people really embrace these stress management techniques. Again, if you take a minute to find yourself a pencil, some paper, a marker or a pen, the permanent pigment micron pen is the absolute best one for Zentangle, but anything is okay. If you can find yourself a Kleenex, not to blow your nose and wipe your tears, but that too, or a Q-tip, that's going to help us with the technique ahead. There we go. Zentangle. What is it? Zentangle is an easy to learn and relaxing method of creating beautiful images from repetitive patterns. It's also referred to as a meditational art form. I got introduced to Zentangle in 2010 at a creativity and mental health conference that was put on by an agency in Worcester, Alternatives. My good friend Dennis Rice, who lives in the sort of southern part of Massachusetts, in Whitensville, and also these lovely people live in Whitensville, which is how he met them and how he kind of learned about this technique. These two people are the founders of Zentangle, Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas. They went to high school together. They grew up, lived their own lives, and then reconnected in the sort of middle age and fell in love. And what he had been doing while she was having a family was being a Buddhist monk. And her profession was, she was a calligraphy artist, still is. But he was watching her do calligraphy and said, oh my God, that's exactly what we're trying to do with meditation. When the monks meditate, we're trying to get to that place of relaxed focus where you're not thinking about the past and the future and the anxiety and the things you didn't do. You're just in that present moment. And so from there, they realized that this could be a tool for people to have access to the present moment. The things we strive for in meditation, when people aren't all about just sitting there quietly contemplating their belly button. If you need more, this is for you. One of the important parts of Zentangle, the most important part, is to recognize that it's about doing it, not about the end point. You're not trying to draw something that you're not trying to make an incredible landscape. You're trying to enjoy the process. So process is more important than product. You get what you get. We're not attached to the outcome because we're enjoying doing it. The pencil they give you in real Zentangle doesn't have an eraser. One of the big tenets of Zentangle is there's no mistakes in Zentangle. You can't do it wrong at all, just like life. Their goal in creating this as something to share was to overcome all of the obstacles that people have for taking on something creative. People say, I don't have the time for this. I can't do a creative hobby. It's too expensive, too much equipment. I'm not an artist. I'm scared. All of the things are addressed by Zentangle. You don't need any expensive materials. You can do it within minutes. You don't need any art ability. Tammy's going to show us how to do this. You don't need a specific place to work. If you're the kind of person who feels like I can't start something, I never finish, no worries, you'll finish it before the end of the time today. You don't need any training to do this. If you're feeling bad about yourself, let that go. There's no space for that in Zentangle. We are here for you. We're bringing our best selves. I think that's the last thing that I am going to say before turning it over to Tammy. My friend Tammy, awesome. I'm going to pin you. Let's see. Once we learned Zentangle, I taught this, and ta-da, there we go. And then Tammy just took it to like, oh my gosh, she's so good. She's so good at this. She's been doing it. It's been very helpful. She can tell you about how helpful it is. Yeah, look, I love how she's got her screen share ready to go. All right, I'm going to be quiet. Tammy, turning it.
Hi, thanks, Amy. Yes, I find this very relaxing, especially when I'm stressed, because Zentangle is all about repeating shapes, and I just find it just engrossing. And you can sit down and start it, and before you know it, several hours have gone by. But it's fascinating. And there's 8 different steps to Zentangle. and we'll go through them today. Always, always, the first step is gratitude and appreciation, and for whatever. And today, I will say I'm very grateful for my health and thankful for the support of my family and friends the last several months. And we're going to get started. We're going to use our pencil, and we're going to put 4 corners, which is the second step. We're going to put 4 corner dots. And when you put the dots on, you want to do it lightly on your paper. And if you find yourself gripping your pencil too hard, go back on your pencil a little bit. Bring your fingers back on your pencil. So we're going to just put 4 dots in the corners. And then we're going to draw a line on the dots, again, very lightly, and don't worry about them being perfectly straight. This is just going to be a guide. So we're real lightly going to attach the lines. And if always hold your hand comfortable. So if you're not comfortable, just turn your page. Okay. And now we're going to draw a line, a triangle here. And it's okay to go outside of our frame a little bit. Again, doing it lightly. This is a pattern. It was Kelly Blewin from Let's Tangle did this pattern. She has a website or a Facebook page that's Let's Tangle, but she also has a YouTube channel, and it's called 15 Minutes of Zen, and it's great. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's like 15 minutes a day. And now we're going to draw like a teardrop shape on the top of our triangle. And this shape is actually called flux. And then we're going to draw a short line inside and put 2 or 3 dots in there. And that's what we're going to keep doing all the way around our triangle. Excuse me. You can vary them different size. And if there's gaps in there, that's okay too. We're going to fill those in later on. But our outside triangle line is just a guide, and it's okay to go outside that line. And we're just going to keep continuing to make those. And we're going to fill the triangle with them. like I said, leave some, you're gonna wanna leave some gaps in there. There. How is everybody doing?
Good.
What we're doing today is actually considered Zentangle inspired art, because we're doing a definite shape, whereas Zentangle itself doesn't usually have any specific shape. Okay, now what we're going to do is on our pencil border, we're going to follow along those lines, but every time we run into the tree, we're going to pick up our pen. Remember to turn your paper so your hand is comfortable.
Feels, this is Kelsey speaking. I feel like that's a good metaphor for life. Adjusting to make yourself comfortable,
Yes,
right? Especially
right.
this holiday season.
That's great.
Yeah.
A good
It's okay to
observation.
adjust. Turn the paper. Okay.
And once we're done with that part, we're going to make the trunk of the tree on the bottom. I'm going to make my, there we go. Just draw the trunk on your tree. And then we're going to put diagonal stripes on that, on the trunk. And then we're going to draw them going the opposite way.
That looks awesome, Tammy.
And now all the gaps that we have in the tree, if you have a big enough gap, we're going to draw an orb inside the gaps that are large enough, and then any white space, we're going to ink that in. We're just going to fill it in. If they're too small to put the orb in there, just ink them in. We can put some along the edge of the tree too. And after we do that part, we're going to put like curved lines. We're going to curve it and put a teardrop at the end and fill it in. This is called fescue. And you just put them wherever you'd like to see them in your tree. And you can do a single ones, double, you can cross them, however you like. at the top of the tree, I'm gonna put a little curlicue, but you can put whatever you like on the top, you know, whether it be a star or a heart or whatever you like on the top. Now we're going to pick up our pencils again. And at the top of this fescue, in the top corner, we're going to put a little bit of, we're going to very lightly with our pencil, put a little bit of lead in there. You know, do it, be real gentle with your pencil, and it really doesn't take very much. Okay, now we're going to use our Q-tip or our tissue. I'm using a tortillon, and we're going to take that, each place where we colored that in, and we're going to spread it out. And as you come down your leaf, lighten your pressure on it a little bit. Then we're going to take our pencil and go under the tree where the trunk of the tree is, and we're going to go along that edge and shade that in. And now we're going to go along and also along the outside of the tree, but do it really lightly, just a small amount around the outside of the tree. Like I said, if you find yourself gripping too hard on the pencil, then just bring your fingers back, bring your hand back towards the back of the pencil more. And then we're going to use our blending stick here to go to blend that in around the edge. You barely have to put any pressure on it. Now, if you have a different color of marker or a gel pen or a different color pen, we can color in the ornaments we put on the tree. And wow, we've already done 6 steps. Now we're going to initial our work. We're going to sign it. You can just do so many different things. And do it in so many different ways. And our last step is to appreciate our work. But here are some that I did with different colors and such for some different ideas.
Those are so nice. You can see why I'm so impressed with Tammy's like ability to take Zentangle to a whole other level like that. Gorgeous. So gorgeous.
How did everybody do?
Anybody want to hold theirs up? Oh my
Oh,
God.
nice,
Yours is
Laura.
gorgeous.
Very nice.
Oh,
Oh,
Alex,
wow. I
that's
like that,
amazing.
Kelsey.
Oh, nice.
Okay, this one, I don't know if you can see it or not. This
Oh
one
my
is,
God, Winona, that's beautiful.
I didn't do that. Claire just did that. She's 8.
No.
Claire
Oh,
just did that.
good job, Claire.
Oh,
let her sit
wow,
in.
Claire.
I hope it's okay. I'll let her sit in on this.
Of course it's okay. Zentangle's for
Yeah.
everyone.
This is the one I did.
Yours is nice too, Winona. But she really knocked it
She's
out of the park.
amazing. She's absolutely amazing.
Wow,
She's
Claire, that's
a budding artist.
Thank you.
And
so
I can
beautiful.
tell you, her brother, who's 14, is doing Zentangle in art class at middle school.
Oh, that's great. Wow. See, it's everywhere. I felt like I was so cool to actually meet the leaders. And this was, 13 years ago. People came from all over the world to learn how to be certified Zentangle trainers. And I only came from like 4 towns over. But I taught my son's kindergarten class. They loved it. Let me see. I'll just quickly share some more. You can
See what
see
you can do?
Yeah.
Look,
that you can do all kinds of things with it.
anything you want. You can just draw. Later on, I'll show you one where you can just do, that's easier to do with rectangles. That you draw rectangles and then you've got something to work on. Look at it's initials. It says,
Molly.
look at that.
One of the things that the Zentangle trainers do is make sure that none of the little patterns
Just draw.
have names. So that you can't get it wrong. We know, like, if we said draw a Christmas tree, people might get anxiety about that and feel like, oh no, what am I doing? But when you're drawing flux, you're drawing this, it doesn't feel like you could possibly get it wrong. And that's really the point. Zendalas, when people make them starting from a circle, so cool. I love this one where people took song lyrics or poem phrases from a poem and Zentangled around it. If you even just do a search for Zentangle, you're going to find like millions and millions and millions of potential patterns. When we were training, they asked us to look to nature to find inspiration for patterns. And ever since then, now I really, really notice that almost everything we see in nature is a repeated pattern. And even like with this pine cone, even if one of those flaps of it, whatever those are called, they don't have to be perfect at all. When you put it together and look at the whole, it looks amazing. The little pieces are just part of it. So I love that about Zentangle, the idea that you can't get it wrong. No mistakes. People, the house that they live in, the Zentangle house, they've like Zentangled their floor and their wall and their like shoes. So there's just so many things you can do with it. It's super fun. Absolutely. I love the question about ADHD or hyperactivity. That's exactly the right use for it. A lot of times a kid isn't able to just sit down and be quiet and calm themselves down. But if you give them these supplies and materials and give them some direction, they're all quiet. Like when my son's class was all sitting so quietly, completely focused, nobody was arguing, nobody was fighting. And the way the Zentangle creators set it up was use it however you like, whatever population you want to work with, whatever ways you want to work with it. I've never used it with elders, but I imagine it would go well. There's no limits to who can do it and how you can use it. Anybody thoughts, questions, comments for Tammy or about Zentangle before we move to Kelsey? You guys are good. It was great to see people. Jenny, I was watching you. You were zenning. You were in the space. You were doing the thing. It was great. The relaxed, focus, ease. Yours came out gorgeous. Oh, I love it. Nice job. Great. Kels, I am going to spotlight you. I know you are going to build on our already relaxed and give us some even more exciting things to do, ways to de-stress.
Huge thank you to Laura and Tammy for leading us through these incredible activities this afternoon. Like, I am feeling coming into this presentation that I'm going to share more relaxed, more calm, and like my energy is shifting. And so thank you to both of you for just really incredible practices. What I'm talking about today is executive functioning and joy, some kind of executive function tips to kind of hack joy and happiness. We have this space created for us today, right? We chose to join the session for this 2 hours. We kind of set the time aside to work on these things and to do the different skills and strategies. I think Amy put it in our description, like a cookie swap for our spirits today, right? And we set
Can
aside
you
the
speak
time.
up a little bit? It's
Oh, yeah.
hard. Oh, that was way better.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yep. So we can totally set aside the time to do these things. And it's great when we have the accountability of extra folks and we're in a Zoom meeting like this. I find that for me, it can be tough to do the things when I'm alone. It can be tough to remember to do the things. And so those are some of our executive functions, and that's where they come in there. Our attention, our focus, our planning, the organization to get started. Oh, I can't find my pen, and where's the paper? And I forgot. And what was that thing Laura said? And so that's really where I come into this mix today to share a bit about how we can use our executive function skills kind of consciously to help us remember to do the happiness activities, our hobbies, and really kind of hack joy, right? So we can have a little bit more joy. All right, I'm going to share my screen and do a quick presentation.
That's great. The slides look so happy.
Thank you. I really wanted them to look so happy. I feel strongly about that. There's enough boring things around us and enough not so happy things that our slides don't have to be those. All right, so we're taking action towards joy today. We've calmed, we've tapped, we've Zentangled, and we're gonna joy. I'm Kelsey. I'm an executive function coach. I'm the director of operations at Worcester Justice Childhood Trauma, doing the behind the scenes stuff. And I like to consider myself an ambassador of joy. I feel very strongly that that joy is out there for all of us, and we should all have the space to experience it and experience it more often, more commonly, right? And so my expectations are that I'm going to walk you through a couple exercises and I'm going to do them myself. And we're really going to use particular executive function skills and strategies. One, kind of doing small steps, baby steps. This is not an all or nothing. I have to be joy all the time or it doesn't matter. No. Or I can be miserable and I can find joy, right? Those things get to coexist. And so we're going to do some practice with baby steps on that. We're going to spend a bit of time doing some reflection. And that's a great metacognition skill. That's an executive function tip there. And we're going to do a little bit of work with timers, right? You don't have to dedicate your whole day to your hobby, but you can kind of work it into your day. If you have the whole day, great. Most of us do not, especially during a work day or something like that, right? All right, so this next one, we get to kind of talk about what we like. What are your hobbies? I think that's some of the question that Amy asked us, right? So some folks were focused on their Zentangle and so may have missed that question a little bit ago. So you can go ahead and put that in the chat now if you're interested in that. Or you can share verbally. What do you like to do? I know my big hobbies are swimming. I try to get to the pool once a week at a minimum. I like to read, and I found I didn't always have time to read anymore, and I wasn't quite figuring it out. And so I joined a book club, and we read one book a month, and that keeps me accountable to getting my reading in so that I can go and participate with the group at the end of the month. They let me go even if I don't read the book, but I do make it a goal to get that reading in that way. I also dance, and I schedule classes twice a week so that I get my dancing in. I can obviously dance other days, and I try to, but putting it into my schedule really helps make sure that at a minimum, twice a week I get to dance, right? My teacher's waiting for me. I have to show up. I also cook and I garden, and those are things I do at home solo without the accountability of another person, right? There's no teacher waiting for me to show up for a cooking class. I'm not taking cooking classes. But my own, my own body is waiting for me to show up and feed it, right? And so it's like, come on, lady, you can cook us something here, please. And that's the benefit of that hobby too. I'm checking out the chat quick and I'm seeing other folks enjoy reading, walking, making jewelry, working out, going for a run. Absolutely. Oh, and some creative hobbies, quilting, sewing, hiking, baking. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. It sounds like there's a lot of similar hobbies within our group today, our conversation. Awesome. And as we get ready to kind of dive into joy here, I'm hoping you can kind of take a second to reflect here. How often do you feel joy? Is it daily? Is it weekly? Monthly? Only when you're on vacation? Does joy visit you rarely? If you can, use kind of a 1 to 10 scale to rate your joy. On average, how joyful do you feel? How much joy do you have? 1 being a little joy, 10 being all the joy. You can share in the chat or share verbally if you're comfortable and you want to reach out. I know personally, some days I feel like a 2, right? And I'm like, I don't have any joy to share. And other days I'm up and way off the charts and I'm more like a 12. And so I like to say my average is more like 8, right? And I'm living with a lot of joy. When I worked full time in an office and I had to go to work 9 to 5 every day, my joy was really around a 5, right? And so over the past couple of years, changing my work structure, changing my location, my living situation, I was able to increase that joy on a regular basis to really feel like joy visits me more often, right? All right. And this is where we're going to really start to dive into some of this reflection. And so here I say jot down. And so you can use the same paper you were using to Zentangle. You can turn it over, or you can make a note in your phone, right? You don't have to physically write it. You can digitally write it. But But here it's just going to give you a couple minutes to jot down joy from different parts of your life, right? What has brought you joy in the past? What are some of your happy memories from childhood, teenage years, college, young adulthood, etc.? Whatever stages of life you've moved through. I know we have a variety of age ranges in the audience, in the Zoom audience here, in our group today. So think through at different points, what did you do and what made you happy? All right, that's our 2 minutes there. And so I'll share my reflections here. Some of them overlap and some of them don't, right? I've shared my hobbies, and so we're just walking you through it. As a kid and as a kid, I really loved reading and swimming. As a teenager into college, I did a lot less swimming. And so I'm glad that that's here as an adult. But I also put bike rides on my list, and I was like, oh, that's not something I do often as an adult. Interesting to remember that I used to enjoy that, right? All right. The next one, we talked a little bit about hobbies, but there may be things that aren't hobbies that bring us joy or make us feel happy. And so we're going to think about those things. Jot down the activities, the people, the places, the pets, etc. that when you're the happiest, right? What brings you joy now? When are you the happiest? And just think through what that looks like in your week this week or your day today. What's the highlight of your day, and what's some of the highlights if you looked across a week or a month? We'll do another 2 minutes on that. All right, bringing us back from that. And for anybody curious, I really am using a timer to do this so that we have structured space, but we don't get stuck in any one place, right? In some of these questions, it's like, oh, I didn't need a whole 2 minutes. In others, it's like, I could have written 10 more minutes, right? one of the big things that just came up for me in this reflection is really, we talked about cooking as a hobby before, but what makes me happiest is really sharing that meal with friends and loved ones, right? And so connecting that hobby to that feeling of joy and happiness that it brings me in the moment of cooking, there's a lot of joy, and then it continues on because that joy continues as I share that delicious food with friends. All right, this one's probably my favorite. What can you do to inspire joy today? Right? How can you find some happiness, find some joy in your day today? I don't know your day. I don't know what you have to do, how much work, if you're running around, if you have holiday prep, you need to pick up the kids after school, and what does your real day look like? And list all of the possibilities that you could find some joy today, the remainder of the day. All right. Bringing us back from there. What do your lists look like? What'd you come up with on things you can do today? You can drop it in the chat or you can share it out loud, whatever works for you. Share a couple of mine. Going for a walk was on the list. Feels like something I'd have to kind of work at, but it would probably help me feel great today if I could figure out how to get it into my schedule. Crossing things off my to-do list will make me smile, will bring some more lightness into my body for sure. The dog, dancing with your kid, wow. Attending this meeting, yeah. Beautiful. Lots and lots of things we can do today. I also put on my list that I want to put Laura's tapping into my daily routine, and I'm going to forget, right? So I need to make time today to put it on my calendar or set an alarm or create a little reminder so that tomorrow I can remember to do it, and the next day and the next, especially through this holiday season. Awesome. Emails. Yeah, finishing that to-do list, Jenny, sounds similar to mine. Get that, check it off the list. Awesome. And next, we get to do that, right? We're going to carve out within this 2-hour window of caring for ourselves, we're going to carve out 5 minutes here to do something from the list of things you can do today. Because it's not just let's talk about it and let's plan to do it. Let's take 5 minutes and see what we can accomplish in that time. And so maybe Jenny's writing emails, Winona's with her granddaughter, Amy may take those 5 minutes to play with the dog. Yep. And so 5 minute timer starting now. We're gonna do one of the joy things from your activity list for today right now. Awesome. I'm definitely adding the tapping routine to my daily reminders now. All right. Thanks for hanging in with me and doing these mini goals, which are really the best way that we meet our big goals, to break it down into really small, manageable steps. Talk to me about what you did. You had 4.5, 5 minutes or so to work on your something that brings you joy, something that makes you happy. What did you do?
Also, I just want to say that doing something for just 5 minutes is such a good technique, because so often you can feel overwhelmed with how long it's gonna, what a big deal it is. And just taking 5 minutes can really flip you into feeling more motivated and more energized, and just doing something. So love that.
Thanks, Amy. Yeah, it's probably one of the best secret weapons we all have. 5 minutes, right? And sometimes we feel like we don't even have 5 minutes, right? I get that, and I get those days. But on the days where we can find those 5 minutes, I really encourage you to set a timer and take advantage, right? I'd rather read 5 minutes of my book than 0 minutes, right? It gets me a couple pages further along and engaged in that story.
And if I clean for 5 minutes, right? Like cleaning the whole thing feels overwhelming, but for 5 minutes feels doable. And then I usually do way more than 5 minutes, but just telling myself it's only going to be 5 minutes is.
Yeah, it makes starting a lot easier. Yep. And so as we kind of wrap up this activity and this reflection, these final questions are, how do you feel 5 minutes later? Maybe you feel the same, maybe you feel a little different, maybe you got a little smile, right? And then the next one is, can you gift yourself 5 minutes tomorrow? Does that feel possible? Right? Today we've done a kind of a 2 hours of caring for ourselves in this container, but what does 5 minutes look like tomorrow? And what does 5 minutes look like throughout this holiday season? Right? If stress visits this season, can you also let joy visit? Right? And carving out those 5 minutes when joy doesn't come naturally. Awesome. And now we've reached the conclusion. I'm going to turn it back to Amy to do our kind of wrap up activities. I think we have one more presenter today, but I do need to ask everyone that's with us here to fill out this form for our funder. Worcester Justice Childhood Trauma has funding from 2 organizations, with the Worcester Division of Public Health through the City of Worcester, Massachusetts, and the Reliant Foundation, to be able to offer Trauma Training Tuesday. And so we do need a little bit of feedback to share with them so they know who we're serving, what we're doing. Is our work important? Is it meeting the needs of our clients and the community at large, really? So I'm going to drop the link in the chat, and I appreciate your time today, moving through some joy with me and completing the survey for us. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Hans, it's okay. Hans is really excited about everything you said. I also put in the chat on the website where the recording will be and where you can switch off to all the other things that we referenced today. So that's helpful. Thank you, Kelsey, for letting us do the feedback form. I'll mute for a second. Well, maybe Hans will be quiet. Before we have, like about 10 minutes left, and Winona is going to end us with a guided meditation, and we'll just kind of drift off from there. But before we do that, does anybody have anything they wanted to share that has really helped them get through a stressful time like holidays? Jump right in if you have anything. One thing I know that I try to do is manage my expectations. I'm like a big serenity prayer believer. Like, there's some things you can change and there's some things you just can't change. So trying to like not focus on the things I have no control over. And a lot of times that means managing my expectations, recognizing that I'm not in control of everything. Things aren't going to go the way I want. But setting myself up for success by just setting a reasonable goal from it. Like, I'm just going to be there for a couple hours and then I'll go and I'll talk to 3 people or whatever the goal is that helps me feel successful. Anybody else have things that really help them get through all the stress? We got tapping, Zentangle, finding the joy. One of the other things that I was gonna say, I had a slide about how a lot of times it's just making up our minds to be happy. That's the Abraham Lincoln quote, is most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. And then that's supported by, there's been a big study about people that won the lottery and had an accident that landed them in a wheelchair, right? And though that's probably like one of the best things you can think of, one of the worst things you can think of. And that was true for people, but a year later, they were back to their same baseline, right? So that really shows us that it isn't about the external things. Because if those external things are going to shake us for a minute, they might take us down for a year. They might build us up for a year, but then we just come back to that same place. And that's our baseline's kind of in our control, right? It's really about paying attention to the things that make us feel better and make us happy, and that we can control, and that we can kind of keep going, that help us just keep going in the face of so much hardship. Hearing nothing else, I'm going to hand it over to the amazing Winona. Feel free to give us some of your amazing life advice as well. Winona is one of the happiest, most adventurous, exciting lived people I know. And yeah, this is not her first rodeo. So she's got some good tips for living well.
Yeah, I on my things that I do, I forgot to mention my travel, the RV I owned for years and drove across the United States and back by myself. I was only 65, I just am always looking for new things and new experiences, meeting new people. I'm always looking forward to something. I don't just sit and bemoan my horrible life and all the awful things that have happened to me, which have happened to everybody. We've all had trauma, but it's wonderful to be able to just get out and do. And I was just reading an article in the AARP magazine that's what keeps you going when you're in your 70s, 80s, 90s. And for all of you that are younger, always have something to look forward to, always. If it's remodeling your kitchen or taking a trip or, meeting new people, trying new things. I've been trying the Zentangle and it's interesting. I'm sorry I've been kind of distracted during all this, but I need to show you what my great-granddaughter's been doing since you guys introduced her to Zentangle.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
So, with having kids around, you never have to worry about feeling joy. They also drive you crazy sometimes, but overall, it's a pretty neat
But
thing.
not Claire.
But isn't she amazing?
She is amazing. Wow.
It's really something.
Wow.
So
Beautiful.
anyway, I will read this meditation. I don't know if Amy told you, I moderate a group of people who have chronic pain. People have been in pain for incurable things for years and years and years. And we meet every Monday morning. And I read these to them just to start off our week. And then I always end my week with Amy's group, along with Tammy and Terry and on and on and on. So this is what I'm going to read. And Claire's going to sit down and be quiet for 10 minutes. Thank you, Claire. She's really a good kid. So I want you to get comfortable, all of you. Sit back, relax, sit comfortably in a quiet place. Relax your shoulders, your belly, and your thighs. Close your eyes and feel into the connection between your hips and the earth. As you breathe gently in and out through your nose, allow yourself to get further settled into your seat. With this rooting down, notice the energy you receive back from the earth. Feel how your connection to the support underneath you helps you feel tall, awake, and alive. Remain connected to the body and the breath, aware of body and breath. Feel how the body seemingly breathes itself. Notice into the wonder of the rise and fall of your chest, the wonder of the continual movement of breath. Soften into a deep feeling of gratitude for the body itself and your breath. Sense your heart opening to the miracle that is your body. Recognize all the wonderful ways in which it functions and all the amazing ways in which it allows you to connect with your world. Feel your heart open in the miracle that is in your breath. Conjure up a heartfelt gratitude as you delve into present moment awareness. Recognize how precious and how extraordinary your breath and your body are. Feel your body softening and opening into this awareness. Feel all tension released from your forehead, your shoulders, your belly, and your thighs. And then intentionally, ever so slightly, turn up the corners of your mouth. Notice how the body reacts to this subtle smile. Turn toward that sensation. Label that sensation as happiness, as joy, or as bliss, and sit with it. Hold your subtle inner smile and explore. Notice what arises. Notice too that this sensation of joy is available to you right here, right now. Doing something as simple as sitting still, watching and noticing. Right here and right now, the more you can be present, the more you can free yourself from thinking about what comes next. The more you can free yourself from ruminating on what has already happened. The more you are available to notice this joy. Notice that joy doesn't so much arise, but joy is revealed. Joy is most available to you when you are available to be nowhere other than right here, right now. Rest your whole body in this state of joy and identify with this bliss as who you really are. This happiness, this joy, this bliss is what remains when you drop all your superficial thinking and doing. It what remains when you're nowhere other than present, right here. This joy is you. It is your natural state. Recall this sensation and remember that this joy, as you, is available to you at any time. Anytime you'd like to come back to this feeling, all you need to do is stop what you're doing and notice. So right here, acknowledge the ease, the spaciousness, acknowledge the gratitude and awe. Acknowledge your inner smile and the sensation of joy. Get to know joy in this moment and make a promise to remember joy, to turn towards joy, and to notice who it is that you truly are, even as you return to your day.
Thank you all so much for being here. Winona, that was absolutely beautiful. I'd love to post that if you have it and I can share it out. That was a really good one. I loved the subtle smile part. It was really
I thought
fun.
that kind of fit
Really.
in today.
It was perfect for today. It was right in the theme, perfectly timed. Thank you all so much. What a pleasure to spend time today. Thank you all for bringing your best, joyous, relaxed, creative, amazing selves, and your great granddaughters and your pets and your all the things. Thank you all so much. Mwah. We can blow each other kisses goodbye. And then we'll paste this on the website so you can return to it for joy. Thanks, everybody. Bye.